Okay, now we are going to discuss regarding PV plot or PV diagram for a pure substance like water. So in this particular plot, I have shown three different regions. Okay, so vertical axis is pressure and horizontal axis is specific volume. Now that ACB, this curve actually known as steam dome. It's the shape of a dome, that's why it is known as steam dome. Now you can see the region which one is enclosed under this curve ACB, that is basically a two-phase region. Why it is called two-phase region? Because inside this curve, the region which is enclosed by that curve, in that location actually phase change occurring. That means the water from liquid state, it is going to be converted into gaseous state, and that phase change operation is going on inside this particular region, enclosed region. And left side of that AC curve, that means this location, that is I have written over there capital L, that means it's a liquid region, or you can say it's a subcooled liquid region. That means the temperature of that substance is below than the liquid saturation temperature, and this curve AC, that curve is known as liquid saturation curve. Okay, similarly BC curve is known as saturation curve obviously, but it is vapor saturation curve. That means while you are raising the temperature of a quantity of water, that point of time first the temperature of water will raise up to its saturation temperature. If we are talking about 1 atmospheric pressure, then that temperature is 100 degrees centigrade. Okay, so first temperature will rise from your room temperature like 40 degree or 30 degree, however it is, 30 degrees centigrade up to 100 degrees centigrade. That heating is known as sensible heating. Then from 100 degree the temperature will be remain constant, the pressure will be remain constant, and the phase transformation is occurring. That means the total volume of liquid will be converted into steam or vapor, and that is occurring over here in this region. Okay, now after reaching to that particular state point, suppose F, that is the complete vapor saturation point, whole amount of liquid is converted into vapor. Now from there, if you continuously raise the temperature or continuously supply the heat, then what will happen? That region is completely known as superheated region, that is complete vapor, no existence of moisture at all. That's why I have written over there V. That means that whole region, right side of the BC curve, it is completely vapor region, which is known as superheated region, and the vapor is known as superheated vapor. Okay, so some of the points I should clarify over this diagram. Slowly I will go, because if we move slowly, it will be much easy to understand all the things. First of all, I should clarify that T1 is a temperature which is greater than the Tc. Tc means critical temperature. Critical temperature means the temperature where that all these liquid phase and vapor phase, they are coexisting with each other in equilibrium state point. That is that critical point. You can see this side is liquid and this side is vapor. They are having a march point of C. So every critical point is basically defined, it is that here the liquid phase and the vapor phase, they are coexisting here. Okay, and the specific volume, it is a kind of vertex of that particular triangular shape. Okay, so here that in the critical point you can say the specific volume and all other thermodynamic properties of the liquid phase and the vapor phase are identical. Why? Because the liquid phase and the vapor phase, they are going to merge at a point, that is the critical point. So all the properties like specific volume or pressure or temperature, however it is, they all are thermodynamic properties. All those properties for liquid phase as well as for vapor phase, they are going to be identical. Where? At the critical point. That's why critical point is very important. So at critical point, all those thermodynamic properties for liquid as well as for vapor, they are identical. Understood? So these lines, these red colored lines T1, Tc, T2 and T3, they all are basically isotherm lines. Isotherm line means constant temperature lines. So T1, Tc or T2, I have only shown 4 lines. Several temperature lines will be there, and joining all those temperature lines, we are getting this kind of ACV curve. Okay, you can see for these two curves T2 and T3, these two liquid saturation point I have joined. Similarly, these 2 points, they are basically the vapor saturation point. They are also lying on the same T2 and T3 temperature line. So several temperature lines I can plot over there. I am not going to plot more than this because it will create a clumsiness. Okay, so lots of temperature line they are having there, and if we join all those temperature lines at different pressure level, then we can get this kind of ACV curve. So T1, Tc, T2 and T3, they all are basically what? Isotherm line. Isotherm line means the constant temperature lines. Isotherm lines. Now if we do that kind of phase transformation at different pressure levels, suppose normal atmospheric, higher than atmospheric, higher than that, continuously if you do the experiment, then lots of pressure, according to the different pressure, different temperatures will be getting. So lots of temperature lines will be coming, and if you join all those points, so it will give you that kind of curve, ACV curve. Okay. And I have shown over here that T2 and T3, they are basically the temperature which is lesser than the critical temperature. I have shown one temperature that is higher than the critical temperature, and 2 temperature line I have shown that they are lesser than the critical temperature. Understood? Now C is here critical point. C is critical point. Critical point means the point where this liquid phase and vapor phase, they coexist in equilibrium, and all the thermodynamic property, the like specific volume or pressure or temperature, they all are identical for liquid phase and the vapor phase at this critical point. That is the importance of critical point. And here AC is basically saturated liquid line, and similarly BC is saturated vapor line. Both are saturation line, but one is liquid and one is vapor. Now you can see I have drawn 2 dotted vertical projection. One is named as VF and one is named as VG. What are they actually? They are basically the specific volume. VF is nothing but specific volume at liquid state, and Vg, that is also the specific volume but at vapor state. Okay, F stands for liquid and G stands for vapor, and VFG, that is nothing but the difference between this Vg and Vf. Vg means from origin to up to here, and Vf means from origin up to here. So if you subtract these two values, Vg minus Vf, then you are getting the value of Vfg. Okay. That is the interval between Vg and Vf. And these dotted lines, whatever I have drawn from C like this way, like a curved lines, these are basically dryness fraction line. This one, all are basically dryness fraction line. I am keeping the symbol here. that is dryness fraction lines. What is this dryness fraction? It is determined expressed by x actually. And what is the dryness fraction? Dryness fraction is nothing but the quality of steam. It is very important parameter and it will be needed to solve very many numericals. Quality of steam. How much the steam is good or bad, that can be determined with the help of this dryness fraction. Okay, I will clarify dryness fraction afterwards. First, explain understand this curve very clearly. Now, this area under this particular curve ACB, I can write area under ACB curve, that is a two-phase region. Two-phase region, that is liquid and vapor. That's why I have written L plus B. Okay. And left to the curve, left to curve AC, that is complete liquid zone, and right to curve BC, that is completely vapor zone, or rather say superheated vapor. Superheated vapor. Understood? Now, suppose I am taking for a particular isotherm line. Suppose I am taking the T3 isotherm line I am talking about. Okay, so in T3 isotherm line there is three segments. One is DE, second one is EF, and the last one is FG. Three segments of that T3 isotherm line you can see: DE, EF and FG. Okay, you can see that DE part is almost a vertical line, almost vertical. EF is horizontal or the parallel to the V-axis, and FG is an inclined line. What does this mean? That means while DE is a almost vertical line, that means that with respect to change of pressure, the specific volume is not going to be changed that extent, isn't it? I can write over here that DE is almost vertical. It's why it is very important. Almost vertical line. That means what? That means with the change of pressure, if the pressure is increasing or if the pressure is decreasing, the specific volume change is not going to be remarkable that extent. It is almost constant. Why it is occurring? Because I know that this region is liquid region and this D line falls in the liquid region, and liquids are basically incompressible. The reason behind it, the liquid, why it is vertical, the reason is liquid is almost incompressible. That is the reason actually. Incompressible means it is very tough to compress it. If you increase the pressure on liquid, the compression will be very negligible in amount, because the density of the liquid is constant. So while the density is constant, then the substance will be incompressible, and while the liquid is incompressible, then with the change of pressure, the expansion or the reduction in volume will be very less or tends to zero. That's why while you are increasing the pressure or while you are decreasing the pressure, the specific volume for the liquid is not going to be changed to that extent. A little amount of change obviously will occur, but it's very negligible in amount. That's why you can see a almost vertical line. All these pressure lines, temperature lines lying in this liquid region, they are almost vertical. I have drawn it like a incline. It should be a more vertical in nature, like this way. Okay, that is the reason why DE part is almost vertical. Now coming to EF part, why it is horizontal or why it is, I am wiping this part. EF part, you can see it is almost a parallel line with V axis. What does this mean? That means the specific volume is continuously increasing while the pressure is completely constant. So in EF region we can say that pressure is constant, but specific volume increasing gradually. Why it is occurring so? Because in this region the phase change is occurring. So you are increasing the temperature, you are supplying the heat, so that's why keeping the temperature and pressure constant, the phase change is occurring. If you put a thermometer inside that water, then the temperature will be the saturation temperature. If it is at 1 atm pressure, then it will be 100 degrees centigrade constant throughout this region. Temperature won't increase, and the heat it is supplying, that is known as latent heat, because it is hidden there. Okay, the heat whatever it is supplying in between EF region, that is known as latent heat. Latent heat, I think you are knowing what is latent heat. It is also known as hidden heat because it cannot be measured. That's why, because the temperature is remaining constant. So in the EF region the heat is supplied, that is named as latent heat. Okay, so in this region the pressure is remaining constant as well as temperature also will be remain constant, but the specific volume is getting increased, so the volume of the water is getting increased. Okay, now coming to FG part. FG part, you can see it's an inclined line. That means specific volume is gradually increasing while the pressure is gradually decreasing. Obviously pressure, if it is decreases, then the volume can increases. If the pressure is increasing, then volume is getting decreasing, obviously. So while you can see the pressure is gradually decreasing and the specific volume is also getting increasing. So why it is happening? So because gases are incompressible. Gases are compressible. So that means while the gases are compressible, then you can see the change in volume is rapid. Comparing with liquid, there is no change in volume at all. Very little change in volume is there. But here you can see the rapid change in volume, because for gases the compression capacity or compressibility is high for gases. That's why it is much more inclined. So those are the reason actually. If anybody asks you that why this pattern actually look like this, so they are the reasons. Okay. So in this particular gas, in this particular PV diagram, these things can be very clearly understood. Okay. Now from this part or from this graph, next we are going to show you people that how some formulae can be generated to find specific volume or enthalpy or entropy or internal energy for that particular pure substance, water. Now suppose for a pure substance of we are taking suppose a volume of the water we are talking about here. Suppose we are talking about a volume of water. Now we are considering that is capital V. Okay, so the volume of water that is being converted into vapor, suppose that is V. Okay, so V means what? V means the volume of total, or rather say total volume. It will be better total volume of, it will be better to total volume of vapor, which is basically weight. Weight vapor means some moisture is existing there. Okay, so that V, weight vapor volume, total volume of weight vapor, that can be written V liquid plus V vapor, isn't it? Why it is so? Because some liquid, that means some moisture part must be there, as well as some vapor part is there. That is the mixture. For every wet stream, some vapor part, some dry part will be there, and some moisture part will be there. That way that will be forming a mixture. Okay, now from the notation point of view, we prefer to express that liquid by F notation and vapor by G notation. That is the common notation we are going to use frequently over here. F stands for liquid and G stands for vapor, dry vapor. Okay, so I can write over here Vf is volume of saturated liquid, and Vg is standing for, they all are capital, volume of saturated vapor. Okay, and that is the total volume of vapor. That is a wet vapor, obviously. Mind it, it's a wet vapor. That is a mixture actually. Wet vapor means mixture. Okay. Now, if we consider the mass now, so mass can be expressed. That is the total mass, obviously. Total mass of that particular mixture. Total mass of wet vapor. So that same way, mass can be also expressed by mf plus mg, because some liquid part is there, some vapor part is there, in the same manner. Okay, now that coming to this expression again, that capital V is equals to capital Vf plus Vg. Now if we multiply both the sides of this equation, or rather say we can consider that total volume can be expressed by mass into specific volume, that is also mf into small vf, that is also mg into small vg. Why? Because small v is nothing but specific volume, and specific volume is nothing but total volume by unit mass. Okay, so if the specific volume is multiplied by m again, so it will give you total volume. So that way I can obviously convert that equation into this equation easily. Understood? So now continuing that equation, m into v, keeping that thing like same way, and mf I am just substituting over here from that initial equation. That means mf can be substituted by am minus mg, isn't it, into vf plus mg into vg. Just I have substituted mf from this equation. Now if we take a common intentionally from right side, mind it, they all are small v. I am taking m, or rather say I am taking m as a common, so it will be 1 minus mg by m vf plus mg by m into vg, and keeping that m outside. Understood? Forcefully I am taking m from this right side as a common factor. Okay, so m will be cancelled from each side. So now the equation will be 1 minus mg by m vf plus mg by m vg. Now coming the dryness fraction, whatever I have explained last video, dryness fraction will come here. It is explained by x, and it is nothing but mass of dry steam to the mass of mixture. Mixture means the whole steam. Inside the mixture, the wet part and the dry part is existing there. So that way that x can be expressed by notation mass of dry steam, that means mg, and mass of mixture, that means mf plus mg, isn't it? Some part of liquid, some part of vapor is existing in the mixture. So that is dryness fraction. It is very important. It actually used to determine the quality of steam. Mind it, quality of steam. What does this mean? That means if the steam is good or bad, that can be judged by this factor. In thermal power plant, basically we need to have very dry steam because it should be supplied to the turbine blade. If the moisture is high there in the steam, then it will corrode the turbine blade. That's why we need to have dry steam for thermal power plant. So if the dryness fraction value, that is the X value, if it is close to 100% means inside the whole steam maximum part is dry, isn't it? Suppose if I write the dryness fraction value is 0.5, what does this mean? That means 50%. 50% means inside the whole steam 50% is dry steam, 50% is wet steam. That is not a good quality steam. But similarly, if we consider the dryness fraction is 0.9, that is 90%, then we can consider it is a very good quality steam because 90% is out of 100, 90% is complete dry steam, 90% is completely dry. That is good quality steam. Okay, so that's why that quality of steam can be judged by this factor that is known as dryness fraction. And from here you can see that in this diagram I have shown here that X equals to 0.2, and slowly while it is the last curve I have shown, that is X equals to 0.8, and obviously while you are reaching on this particular BC curve, it is a complete dry state point actually. That point, that line is basically representing the dryness fraction is 1. So if we reach on that particular line BC, if we find the dryness fraction over there, that will be 1 because the whole part of steam is dry. Similarly, if you find the dryness fraction on this line, that is the AC line, then the dryness fraction will be completely 0. Why it is 0? Because the whole steam is liquid. There is no vapor. Complete substance is liquid. So that's why it will be 0. No dry part is there. So similarly, while you are moving from that line to this line, you can see I have shown X equal to 0.2, then it will be 0.4, 0.7, then it is 0.8, 0.9, 0.95, then it will be 1. So the dryness fraction range, what it will be? Dryness fraction range from here I can see it can be greater than, must be greater than 0, and it must be less than 1 or less than equals to 1. Dryness fraction is 1 means the complete steam, 100% of steam is 1, 100% steam is dry, and dryness fraction is 0 means there is no dryness fraction. So greater than 0 and less than equals to 1 will be the range of dryness fraction. Where it is 1? On that particular BC line. And before of BC, how if it is close to BC, then the dryness fraction value will be higher. If it is far from BC, then it will be the very bad quality steam and the dryness fraction will be close to 0. Okay, so now this dryness fraction expression I can write like this way: mg by ma plus mg, that is basically can be written mg by m, because ma plus mg is nothing but m. So now that expression is going to feed over here. So finally from here I can get that specific volume is 1 minus x Vf plus x into Vg, that expression we are getting. Okay, from there just if I wipe this top part so I can use it. So from there if I use that particular equation or arrange that particular equation, this one, so it will be look like that Vf, I can just shuffle that equation to some extent, so it will be look like small v equals to Vf minus x into Vf plus x into Vg. So finally I am getting the specific volume of that particular wet steam, that is Vf plus x taking as the common, so Vg minus Vf. Vg minus Vf is nothing but Vg minus Vf you can see from here Vg minus Vf, that is Vfg, whatever I have written over there. So now x into Vfg, that will be equal with small v. That is the final expression we are trying to build out. That equation or that formula should be keep in your mind, that if you try to find out the specific volume of any wet stream, suppose for your experimental data, your stream is residing over this location. Okay, I can name it by 1. Your stream is locating at this point. So if you try to find out the specific volume of that particular stream which is locating over this one point, then that will be the expression for finding that particular specific volume. Then it should be the V1, then this should be the V1, and V1 will be can be find out using the specific volume of liquid state plus x into Vfg, and Vfg is nothing but Vg minus Vf. You can write it down that Vfg is nothing but Vg minus Vf. They all are small v. Okay, so that way you can from where you can get these values Vfg or Vf, the specific volume. These values can be find out easily from the steam table, that is the property table of water. So that steam table helps us to find out all those thermodynamic properties like specific volume, enthalpy, entropy, internal energy, all those thermodynamic properties for water particularly, as well as you can find out all those data for any refrigerant gas also. Okay, some tables are there, refrigerant tables are also there. From steam table you can get those values for water only. If you want to find out all those thermodynamic property for any refrigerant gas like freon or chlorofluorocarbon, any kind of chlorofluorocarbon, then you can use the refrigerant table also. From refrigerant table you can get those thermodynamic property for all those refrigerants. Here I am talking about the water, so I have to use the steam table. From there you can get these values. How the steam table can be used, that I will make clear afterwards. Okay, so now you should familiar with this particular derivation process, the derivation as well as that particular formula to keep in your mind, that is very important. In a similar fashion, if you am wiping this part also. So if we just now shuffle that particular equation to some extent, then we can also generate a different form of that particular equation, like while you are using that mv equals to mf into vf plus mg into vg. Now I am taking mf plus mg into v equal to mf into vf plus mg into vg. Easily can be written. I have just substituted m by mf plus mg. So from there, if you take mf as a common, just taking this part and this part to the left side and taking mf as a common, so it will give you v minus vf, and if you similarly take mg as a common, so it will give you vg minus v. So from there you can build a relationship. mf by mg is nothing but equal to vg minus v by v minus vf. That is the relation which is known as lever rule. Lever rule. Why it is named as lever rule, you can understand from here. Vg minus v, just see the diagram over here. Vg means that part of volume, okay, and v means, suppose I am talking about the v as like as v1 on this particular diagram at that point 1. Suppose my steam is locating at point 1, so the specific volume at that particular location I am talking about. It is an example. Okay, so Vg minus V, what does this mean? Which volume actually denoting Vg minus V? Vg minus V denoting this particular volume, because that is the Vg and that is the V. So Vg minus V, this one. Okay, I can symbolize that this particular part is Vg minus V, and V minus Vf means Vf is this one and V is that one. So V minus Vf, that means this particular region I am talking about, this region, isn't it? So V minus Vf, this particular region. So you can see that you can consider that point 1 is like a fulcrum point, and just use that childhood lever principle. That you can see the distance while you are considering mf by mg, that means the mass of liquid to the mass of vapor, that is just with the same ratio, making the same ratio with Vg by minus V to V minus Vf. So Vg minus V while you are doing this part of volume, and V minus Vf while you are doing that part of volume. So that is actually look like that lever principle. That's why you can I can say that you people are very well aware that lever principle. Load arm, effort arm, load point, effort point. That same principle is going to be applied over here also. Okay, you can consider them as one as a fulcrum point, and this one is load arm, this is the effort arm. Same kind of structure is looking here. That's why it is known as lever load. Okay. Now if you can see that particular relationship, that same relationship can be used for finding rest of the thermodynamic property. Rest of the thermodynamic property means, suppose if we try to find out that specific enthalpy for that particular steam which is locating at point 1, then you can write the specific enthalpy formula in that particular manner, HF plus X into HFG, in the same manner. Similarly, if you try to find out the specific entropy, what is entropy I will clarify later. It is also a thermodynamic property. It will come at the time of second law of thermodynamics. It also can be written in the same manner. S is basically the symbol of specific entropy if it is small s. If it is capital S, then total entropy. So it is also, you can see the same kind of structure I am following. Similarly, internal energy at that particular one point, you can find out UF plus X into UFG. All those formulae you can see just like this same structure I am following, because that same kind of derivation can be done for these properties also. Okay, so if you understand one derivation, so rest of the derivation will be just like the same one. So just you have to keep the formula in your mind. This formula will be going to be used to solve different problems. Okay, now suppose in this particular location I have located the steam location is point 1, that's why I have written 1 in subscript value. Obviously it's an example. Your steam can be located anywhere in this region. So that region, if you want to find out this thermodynamic property, those formulae can be used very easily. Understood? Now suppose your steam is locating somewhere else here, and suppose that is the 2 point I am indicating. Your steam is locating over here, so that means what? That means it is a superheated region. It's a complete vapor region, no moisture part is there. If you try to find out the specific entropy at this particular location, that is the point 2, then you can easily find out that is the superheated region. So that's why it is written like this, S sup, small s sup, because entropy at superheated region, like the example of 2, that can be written in this particular manner, Sg plus Cp into ln T sup by T sat. That formula also can be used to find out the specific entropy. It is specific entropy at superheated region for superheated steam. For superheated steam, that formula can be used. Actually, from where that formula actually coming, it is coming from the second law of thermodynamics. Okay, so that formula can be derived very easily. So from second law of thermodynamics, it will come that point of time I can clarify. First, just I am using this formula now, so I will clarify it now. Like ds is equals to, that means the change of entropy is nothing but dq by t. So that way I can write like this. So q can be written mcp dt. That is a very well known formula for us. mcp dt by t. M is the mass of the substance, Cp is specific heat, and dt is the change of temperature. Now if you want to quantify the entropy with the boundary limit or saturation, or rather say S G to S soup. Why I am taking that kind of boundary limit? Because I am suppose moving from this point to that point, that is the saturation point. So in this location the entropy will be Sg, and in this location the entropy will be S soup. That's why I am taking the boundary limit Sg to S soup. Okay, so M I am considering unit mass, that is in the specific entropy, so M will be cancelled for unit mass. Cp is constant, it will come out, and for dt by t the integration limit will be same, T sat to T soup. Same. Here the temperature is T sat, here the temperature is T soup. That's why I am moving from this point to that point. So that's why I am taking the integration limit of T sat to T soup. Now if we do the integration, so it will give you S soup minus Sg will be equals to Cp into natural log of T soup by T sat. That actually, if you shuffle that equation, it will give this particular form: S soup equals to Sg plus Cp ln T soup by T sat. So that formula only will be used while you are trying to find out the entropy for a superheated steam. Okay, now for superheated steam, obviously that property table will be different. In a steam table there is two segments, one is for saturated steam, one is for superheated steam, and that at the time of steam table clarification, that point of time I will show you people how the steam table is actually there. Okay, so this formula, whatever I have written over there, this formula will be used while you are going to solve different steam table related problems. Okay, and one more formula also will be used, that is basically the Charles law. So from the Charles law I can write like this: Vg by V soup is equals to T sat to T soup. That is nothing but the Charles law, because by Charles law we know that volume and temperature are proportional if the pressure is remaining constant. So at constant pressure, if you do the phase transformation process, then you can write this equation. Vg means the specific volume of saturated gas, that means on this line. V soup, suppose your steam is resting over superheated region, suppose at point 2. So at this location the volume is V soup. That means if you draw a vertical projection on V axis, that will give you V soup. And if you know any one of the volume or any these three values, if it is known, then the last one can be find out. Like saturation volume and saturation temperature, they can be easily find out from any steam table. If you know the pressure, then at a particular pressure what will be the saturation temperature or what will be the specific volume, they are available from a steam table. And if the T superheated is given to you, then from there you can find the specific volume of superheated gas or superheated vapor. So that formula also can be used to find out any of the unknown value from there. Okay, so all these formulae, especially this dryness fraction or specific volume or specific enthalpy, specific entropy, all these values at different pressure and at different temperature, they are given in a steam table. If you have any steam table, then please keep it out, because it will be needed in coming days. Okay, so that is all for this PV diagram, as well as the formulae can be generated or can be used to solve different numericals for using these pure substance problems. Okay, so next we are moving to next diagram, that is known as TV diagram as well as enthalpy entropy diagram.